A night of celebration for students at Denver's Youth with a Mission instead turned deadly.
Arvada 911.
As their annual Christmas banquet came to a close,
Hang on. We're getting officers on the way. I'm going to stay on the phone with you.
the unthinkable happened.
A man was standing at our door. He fired at us.
Before it was over, the lone gunman had shot 4 workers. Charlie Blanche and Dan Grabenow survived, but 26-year-old Tiffany Johnson and 24-year-old Philip Krause did not. Although nearly a year has passed, the pain of their loss feels as sharp today as that tragic night. Recently, I traveled to the ranch where the students immediately evacuated after the ordeal. Laughter and singing now replace their mourning, and a bittersweet joy can be seen when they talk about their friends who dedicated their lives to missions.
Tiff, that girl, everywhere she went, she impacted people's lives.
Tiff and Phil, they were Jesus in the flesh.
Philip was an exceptional young man. Tiffany was like a daughter to us in many ways.
Peter Warren directs this training ground for missionaries in suburban Denver. He says hundreds, if not thousands, of lives have already been touched by Tiffany's and Phil's example of loving and serving those who least expect it.
The day before this took place, in worship, we had a time of people recommitting their lives to Christ. The invitation was, if you want to say to God, God, I will do whatever it takes for you to bring revival to this generation. Use my life, no matter what it takes. Tiffany and Philip both went forward, and I believe that they really did mean this.
People hearing their story have been amazed by the group's show of forgiveness toward the killer, 24-year-old Matthew Murry.
At this time, we also want to confirm that Matthew Murry was part of one of our training programs 5 years ago.
Raised in a Christian home, Murray struggled with mental disorders and became angry at Christians and Youth with a Mission for being denied a chance to go on a missions trip.
He had become bitter, and his bitterness drove him to a place where he bought guns and ammunition and committed these murders.
The very first thing students and staff did once they were allowed back on their property defies natural thinking.
We all gathered in that tiny little hallway, and we just said all at one time, I forgive you, Matthew.
The tragic events from that cold December night don't end here. This is only half the story. In fact, only hours later, tragedy would strike again, this time at a church in Colorado Springs.
This is 911. This is Sue. Where's your emergency?
There's a shooting at New Life Church.
David Works and his family had just piled into their van when Matthew Murry started firing on them.
A bullet came through the window right above me, and I lost it and just screamed out, "Oh, God, save us." And another bullet crashed through, and we're in a shooting gallery.
David was wounded. His daughter Stephanie died on the scene, and an ambulance rushed her sister Rachel to the hospital.
They prayed and prayed, really contending for her, and finally it was clear that that was not going to happen, and my wife walked over to Rachel and said, "Honey, it's okay, it's in the hands of God now." A few minutes later, she left.
While their deaths took a heavy toll, it was their lives that helped their parents and church family deal with the loss, lives dedicated to helping others and Christian missions.
We pulled together and found God in the middle of all that. We've been humbled, but God's with the humble. He's with the broken in heart.
David says he and his family have found healing through support from their church while writing a book to share their story with others, and in forgiving Matthew Murry for taking 2 of his precious children.
This young man, Matthew, was really hunting Christians. So my girls were martyrs. And that's really an honor in heaven. That's helping me to deal with that, to see that there's some positive there, because their lives have touched so many people.
The lives of the victims and the survivors are now intertwined. The Works family and Matthew's parents have met with Warren and his staff to show the power of forgiveness and Christian love, a message that continues to inspire.
Being around, surrounded people who were touched and by this shooting has helped me so much get through it and know that life goes on.
Every day I'm choosing to just, not only live like Christ, but to live the example I've seen here on earth and with my own eyes, like Tiff and Phil.
Their stories have also motivated these missionaries in training to stand even stronger in their faith.
And through this whole shooting, through the tragedy, through us losing our friends, our coworkers, part of our family, we're not backing down. We're not shrinking back from what God has called us to do as a ministry, but we're going to make sure that we take time to be healed. because we want to be able to bring that healing to others.
John Jessup, CBN News, Denver.